Okay, I'm going to that new sandwich place. You guys want anything? Okay, I'll be back in like, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. Hunter! Ah! I'm you from the future! Well, I suppose it's nice to see that nothing's changed. Well, actually, I'm you from 2 days from now. Wait, so did you come back in time to tell me that we need to finish our time machine before the evil forces of chaos find the portal? No, I actually just used Twilight Spell. Look! I came to deliver a message. It's very important. You've been so busy trying to get Hunter Review's Fred the Movie back on YouTube that you didn't take the time to realize that Mamoru Hosoda released a new movie. No, I didn't. In fact, I've been talking about it a lot on Twitter. Yeah, but you forgot to buy tickets, didn't you? How did you know? Like I said, I'm you from the future. Look, I got you this one. The show's at 7, and try not to think too hard about how I got a ticket for this evening at 7 from 2 days from now. Hey, can I ask you a question? Do we ever accomplish that thing? No, you do not go out on a date with Lyra 2 days from now. Listen, I gotta go. Can I still go get sandwiches? Yes, and actually get the Italian style. Turns out it's pretty good. Hello, my name is Hunter, the movie reviewing pony, because when it comes to cinema, humans cannot be trusted. And future me was right. This sandwich is really good. Good old Mamoru Hosoda. He's a goddamn genius, and I still might be mispronouncing his name. Guy doesn't take shit from anybody. At one point, he was actually supposed to direct Howl's Moving Castle, but Ghibli wouldn't let him because they didn't like his ideas. He worked at Toei Animation for a while before he went to go work at Madhouse, a company notorious for following Hosoda's lifestyle of also not taking shit from anybody. Under them, Hosoda directed his first original film, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. It came out and it was awesome. 3 years later, he directed his second original anime film, Summer Wars, which, in my opinion, was better, and it was also awesome. Not long after that, Hosoda decided he was done taking shit from a company that was done taking shit from other people, so he decided to one-up not taking shit from anybody else and start his own anime company.
With blackjack and hookers!
And thus, he started up Studio Chizu. And before he cut all ties with Madhouse, the two studios created the absolutely fantastic Wolf Children, which is the best Mamoru Hosoda film. There's just something so pure, wholesome, and wonderful about this movie, and it's actually what got me interested in Hosoda's work. 3 years later, he comes out with The Boy and the Beast, and holy shit! It was Studio Chizu's first independent movie, and it was fantastic. But I don't need to go into too much detail with that because there's a full episode of Hunter reviews for this very film. Thus began the long 3-year wait for his next movie, Mirai. And to be honest, I don't know how we ended up following Mamoru Hosoda and pretty much no other anime director, especially with some really great stuff out right now, like Mary and the Witch's Flower, Your Name, and I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. What? But regardless of how we got here, so we might as well review a movie. So, go ahead, Mirai. Impress me. At first glance, I would have guessed that this was a spin-off to The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. It isn't, but there is time travel involved. I know pretty much nothing about the trailer distribution for this movie. But then again, it's kinda hard to keep track of what's going on in a country where I can look at the clock, switch the AM to PM, and have a general idea of what time it is over there. Basically what I'm saying is, they're on the other side of the world, and it's kinda hard to keep track of what's going on over there. I didn't even know that this movie was coming until maybe 3 months after it was announced. But again, I do not know how distribution and advertisement works over in Japan. So I'm not exactly one to judge, and I'm not even gonna try. All I really have to go into this movie with are expectations, giving Mamoru Hosoda's track record, which, as previously mentioned, is phenomenal, so the stakes are really high. But I've said in previous episodes that I'm a skepticist, and that's because I am. I've seen the mighty fall before, and I am fully expecting to see the mighty fall again. Just this past year, I've watched Star Wars fall apart and Solo be a complete and utter flop, losing Disney $100 million. And if a mega corporation like Disney can fail, everything is on the table. And just because it's anime from Japan doesn't mean it's invincible. I've seen some bad stuff come out of Japan lately. Believe me, I still haven't forgotten Tokyo Fish Attack. Now, Hosoda only releases a movie every 3 years, so was that 3 years worth the wait? Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah!
Boiling the movie down to its basic components, it's a pure and wholesome coming-of-age story. Not boiled down to its basic components, it's insane. Mirai doesn't waste time explaining itself, and it doesn't need to. I feel that if this movie took the time to explain itself, the magic wouldn't be there anymore. And in a sense, I feel that this movie is taking a similar approach to my favorite comic series, Calvin and Hobbes. It doesn't explain itself, and if it did, that would take away from the enjoyment of it. But if I had to hazard a guess, I'd say that this movie is following the logic of a small boy's imagination, which probably isn't too far off considering our main character's a small boy. And then again, Hosoda has never been really big on explaining what exactly is going on in his movies, except for the one about the internet. But if I had to drill down to the bedrock of this movie, I'd say it's a coming-of-age story with elements of time travel, and maybe some interdimensional stuff thrown into the mix. And also the dog can talk. I don't need to explain things, it's anime. From a visual standpoint, it's actually a pretty impressive movie, too. One thing that stands out, though, is the overabundance of CG. Like, literally the opening shot is a CG shot of an entire city. For the life of me, I don't know why he went with this particular design choice.
まあでもね、とはいえな、現実的にはね、ハイブリッドになると思います。CG も積極的に使えますし、今回の映画でもかなり今までにないぐらい大量の CG を使いましたけど、でもあんまりそういう印象がない映画になってるんじゃないかな。つまり要するに CG っていうのは使いどころですよね。
Now, I don't know how much of a budget this movie had, so I can't say for certain if that was why there was so much CG in this film. But I have seen that problem before. The director of Your Name wanted to keep drawing, but they ran out of money. But then again, I'm not entirely qualified to talk about the current state of the anime industry. It's not really my field of expertise. I mean, my favorite anime this year was Yuru Camp, and my favorite anime overall was Lucky Star, so I'm probably the last person you should be asking about this. One thing I do know, however, is that every film that Hosoda does, he always tries to stress the importance of family. And that's where this movie excels. This is practically the embodiment of that. Only this movie seems to take it a whole step further, with not just the people you grow up with, but the people who came before you and how you came to be in the world. And in that process, learning to accept those around you. Like I said, it's a very carefully paced coming-of-age story. The pacing at first may seem a bit erratic and the plot may seem like it's not moving at all, but then once you realize the slow speed of this movie, it actually starts to feel kind of brilliant. And right as it arrives on the precipice of sheer and utter ridiculousness, that's where Mirai rolls the credits. It's not just that either, the pacing of Crazy is relatively well put together. It introduces the crazy with something above the average of crazy we get with this movie, and then uses that as an establishing point to what we can expect with the rest of the film. There's also a nice layer of humor with this movie that doesn't take away from the overall tone that this movie is trying to establish. And for as much CG as there is in this film, it doesn't really take away from the overall message or experience you get out of it. Even if in a lot of places we probably could have skipped it. The majority of this movie is hand-drawn, and in its defense, there's a lot more moving around in this movie. Like when you compare this to best Mamoru Hosoda movie Wolf Children. Actually, that's probably a bad example. That was co-produced by Madhouse. Okay, compare this to The Boy and the Beast, which seemed to pride itself on its hand-drawn backgrounds. And I don't think Hosoda's gone over to the dark side yet. He's stressed the importance of hand-drawn animation in the anime industry. But again, I'm not really qualified to talk about something like that. I just jump on the bandwagons like hating High Guardian Spice. And the soundtrack for this movie is phenomenal. It captures the perfect amount of wonder and amazement that you should get out of this movie. Hosoda has used the same composer for his last 3 movies, Masakatsu Takagi. Admittedly, I'm not too familiar with his work, but he did the soundtrack for Wolf Children, which was phenomenal. I really liked that movie. Okay, so what's bad? Well, besides the overabundance of CG, which is considered taboo within the anime industry, the lack of a conveyed narrative might push people away. Now granted, it's easy enough for you to piece together yourself, and I'm not trying to say that this is a movie only for smart people, but I still don't know the name of the 2 parents in this movie. But then again, this might be intentional. Even the Wikipedia page just labels them as the mother and the father. And this isn't the first time I've seen that happen either. Going back to Calvin and Hobbes real quick, those 2 didn't have names either, which is why the writing style for this movie gives me a lot of Calvin and Hobbes vibes. If Bill Watterson took the same approach to that comic series as Mamoru Hosoda took to this film, we'd probably get a similar tone. And again, take this downside with a grain of salt because this might be intentional, and it might actually be brilliant. Hosoda said that the basic idea for this movie came out of a dream that somebody had, which, to me, is all the context that we need. But come on, there's gotta be something, right? Well, it's awkward at a few points. Maybe the dubbing could have been a little bit better. But that's dubbing, I can't penalize the movie for that. But then is there anything that takes away from this movie in any significant way at all? No. There isn't. I might be overlooking a few things, but my final verdict on this movie? 9.7. Mostly because of all the CG. It's really distracting. This is yet another in a decent line of pure and wholesome films from Mamoru Hosoda. And at the end of the day, that's really all you can ask for from the guy. Really, all I can do is ask for a movie that has me eagerly awaiting his next project, which this movie managed to accomplish that. My advice? Find this movie. Seek out and witness this goddamn masterpiece of a film. One of these days I want to find this man and give him a hug. My name is Hunter, and this has been a Hunter Review. I'm gonna eat this sandwich, it's getting cold.
There once was a guy who created a machine, a thing that would take people to and from some other world. And when he arrived, he had run into a pony who smiled and decided that they both should go see a film. When that movie sucked, they decided to join forces, and then they created a new show called Hunter Reviews.